Page 10, Trumpet Tune. No sharps or flats. 3/4 time. We're going to count to 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It's got eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3. Oh boy. Now we're starting to get into more involved music already. When we do this, the way I approach music is I'll take it one hand at a time, then I put the hands together, because that's a whole nother and then I add the dynamics and articulation, all the other stuff we have to add. I just kind of build it up. You'll develop your own system of how you approach music. This is how I do it, so this is what we're doing in the video. Starting with the right hand at the beginning. Second finger on middle C here. Puts the hand in this position. It's going to move around, but it'll start in this position. So we have at the beginning 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2. See, in the second measure the finger number changed from fourth finger to 2. This happens a lot in piano, so get good at it. Eventually you want to be able to do it without looking at the keyboard. Right now you might have to look down, but eventually you want to be able to do this without looking. Second measure, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2. Third measure, same thing, 4 and then 2. In piano playing, there are a lot of different fingering styles. Different people have different styles of how they finger things. I teach my style, or the style that I was taught. I didn't come up with it, I was taught it. So a lot of times when I'm doing these books, and even in the lessons, it's typical for a piano teacher to change fingerings that the book suggests. I do it quite a bit. You don't have to take my fingerings. You can finger it exactly the way they're doing in the book, but I'm going to offer some other fingerings. You simply take a pencil and you pencil them in, and then you experiment and try them, and if you like them you use them. If you don't, you don't use them. Here I would like to suggest a different fingering for the first line, the last two measures, because they got here 4 and then 2 and then a 5 and then a 3. I find that very unpianistic. Because I like to feel the melody as I'm going through, and I can't feel that melody. Because the whole thing should feel like you can do that, fingering it this way. So let's try a different fingering there in the last two measures of the first line. Start out with 4 is fine, and if you want to go to 2, that's okay, but on the last 8th note of that measure I want a thumb on that. So instead of a 2 you can just go to thumb and use that. That's fine, because when I go to the half note I can play it with second finger. Just reach out. Now I'm in position for third finger in the D, and I can connect it all. So to demonstrate the first line going into the second, it's here, here. And I'm there. Now, second line, third measure. Not quite sure why they did this, but it's a little difficult, especially at this level. But they did it, so let's deal with it. There are 2 voices in that top staff. The top voice is here. See that? The bottom voice are the stems going down. It's here. 2 voices, like 2 people singing at the same time, or 2 instruments playing at the same time. Like so. So we have to accommodate both voices. Both voices are important. Now the melody is really the top voice, but the other voice, when they stick in multiple voices, we want to hear them. The problem is the bottom voice has quarter notes. You need to connect them if you can. That means when you're playing the 8th notes in the top voice, you got to hold the bottom voice down. So it's here, second beat is here. You got to hold the A down. And And then the next one is here. You got to hold the B down as you do that. And then you come up. That's not easy to do. You need to learn to do it eventually. If you're struggling with it, you may have to raise it up. You may have to raise it up on the second eighth note. But I would encourage you to try and hold that quarter note down the full beat, if you can. And then the last measure, that dotted half note, that's why there's two stems on that. The two voices are singing or playing the same note. So they have two stems going up, in case you're wondering. Then in the next line, we keep the two voices, and this is just at the wrist, lightly. Watch the fingering in the third measure, because it's 1-3 and then 2-4. Top of page 11, same thing. And then the second line, you're back to what you were doing at the beginning. So in the second line on page 11, in the third measure, again I recommend a 1 for the eighth notes. So you can do a 2 on the half note. So you're in position. The rest of it, same as what we've already had before. That's why we do it one hand at a time, so you can really study it. Because if you just tackle this two hands together, you might miss a lot of this stuff, or you'd get so involved and it gets in, been there, done that. Doesn't work very well. Just tackle this one hand at a time until you can play it. And actually practice it one hand at a time until you can play this without any hesitations. Work all that out first. And then, let's look at the left hand. At the beginning, you're starting out 5 and 3. That's fine. You're in this position. No big deal, I hope. And then take a look at that last note on the first line. You reach the second finger up to the G, and then reach up with the thumb for the next line. You're in this position. Third measure, second line is here. So you're in this position. If I take most of the notes in the second line, these three notes, and I add that bottom C, the last note here, that's the chord. That's a C chord, extended position C chord. That's the fingering for it. That's a good fingering. Third line down, first measure. They give you a 3 in parentheses. I would suggest you take a pencil and cross through that. Don't use 3, use 4. There. Then you have a couple rests. This is the last line on page 10. Third measure, you got to move up. Then the first line on page 11. Again, don't use 3 on the E, use 4. And then come down for the third measure with here. And the third measure of that, use 4, don't use 3. Because those 4 notes in the third measure and the first note of the next measure here, that's a chord, that's a G chord, and that's the fingering for it. So use 4 on the B. And then you're back to what you were doing at the beginning. Left hand's not so bad, which is kind of nice because we have to focus on the right hand so much. Keep the left hand soft. We want to hear the right hand. Then when you work out the hands separately, you go back and you put them together. At the beginning, you're here. That's not that easy to do. So you work it out. Go as slow as you have to. Just make sure you have the right notes and the right rhythm. Don't worry about any of the dynamics, any of that other junk. Now, I don't really feel I need to go through this whole thing. I went through one hand and I went through the other. And you go ahead and work them out and practice and work on that. Then once you have that, you can go back and put in the dynamics. It starts out, you see the up between the stabs, that's forte, that's loud. That's the right hand. Keep the left hand a little under loud, so here. Yeah, have to imagine a trumpet. And this is their processional, this is their announcement. It says, here we are, type thing. So it's loud at the beginning until you get down to the bottom of the page. In the third measure, you come down a little bit. It's medium loud, mezzo forte, sort of loud. It's just come down a little bit. You'll have to decide what that is. And then at the top of page 11, now you come down a little more. You're sort of soft. Then the third measure of the first line on page 11, now you come down to soft. Now, that means the left hand has to be very soft. Then you're back to loud like you were at the beginning. So forth. Then when you get down to the bottom, the last two measures, there's a rallentando there, which is the same as a retard. Retardando. Just slow down a little bit. It's here one, however fast you're going. And keep slowing down to the end. And that's the end of it. The speed, it says allegro. And you'll have to decide how fast allegro is. Allegro means fast, but how I don't know. You have to decide what that is. I don't really want to play it for you. I don't want you copying me. But however fast, start it slow and gradually speed it up. What I would like to do is do a play with me. Have us play. I will play it really, really slow. I'm not doing dynamics or anything. I'm just doing the notes and the rhythms. Have you play it with me and play it one hand at a time with me for a while if you need to make sure you have the right notes and the right rhythms. So I'll give us 3 counts. Let's try this slowly together. Put your hands where they go to start, and here we go. 1, ready, and go, and.